Welcome to this week's episode of Big Man Little Car. One of my neighbors are making all kinds of noise today. Back in 1985, my grandfather in Georgia sat me down as a 12-year-old boy in his lap and said, "Hey, Jason, did you hear that Toyota and Chevrolet are joining forces to make a car?" He said, "Yeah, it's going to be called a toilet." That original car was actually the Chevy Nova. I think it debuted in 1985. I think that relationship led to what became known as Geo in the late 80s, early 90s, where Chevy and a couple of other foreign makers conglomerated and came up with some real gems like the Geo Prism and the Geo Metro. Remember those old radio spots from the 90s? Think Storm sexy? Do you like Storm? Geo Storm was a conglomeration of a Isuzu Impulse, I believe, and a Chevy, I guess. The car behind me is the best of that lot. It's a Geo Prism. It was a conglomeration which went from the Chevrolet Nova to eventually become the Geo Prism, which is a morph of a Toyota Corolla and some kind of a Chevy, I guess, which is also known as Geo. I bought this car about a year and a half ago for $100. I don't know anything about it. It's sitting in my yard with a bunch of other crap that I've bought through the years. All the other millions of things I had to do, I think I'll go see if that Geo will fire up. My name's Jason. This is Grease Belly Garage. Come on. There we go. Come on, baby. By the way, I got a whole bunch of new fence work done. That's my Will It Run vehicle around my yard here. I keep all my basic stuff on there, and I keep straps on the back. If the thing won't run, I just hook the straps up to it and try to find somebody to steer the car and tow it up to the garage. Okay, these cars here were the most like their mothership. I mean, this is almost identical to a Toyota Corolla. I don't even know what year it is, but it does have the nicer alloy rims on it. I've never even really looked inside this car. I think I threw it on the trailer, took it to a wishy-wash car wash. But you know, I am happy to see the dark blue interior. And every Toyota from the late 90s and early 2000s, Toyota and Lexus had broken door handles. Got a 5-speed sunroof. Got the old 90s paint. I'm sure GM had a hand in the paint here. I haven't seen a lot of rust on it. I'm supposing it was bought at a Dodge dealership when it was used. Got a little dent here in the trunk. This is the Lizzie model. So I guess that's the high-end trim package. Geo mud flaps. I thought originally when I saw this car, the sunroof was worse, but now I remember it's this right here that's bad. I don't know how long this car has sat. I have no idea. Let's take a quick peek on the inside. Well, I opened the passenger door, and we got power windows and locks in here too. Got an aftermarket CD player. It's actually a good sign that there's a thermometer in the vent. Probably the AC worked when this car stopped. Got a key. The seats are really not bad at all. I'm not even 100% sure that rust screw leaks into the car. Probably leaks down into the dog leg and probably rot that out. It doesn't even stink in here. Well, yeah, it does. Arby's sauce kind of smell. I spot another key laying in the seat there, so that's a good sign too. I think these seats stayed covered most of the time. There's what appears to be the cheapest 1/4-inch ratchet on the face of the planet. Every one of these cars that I got from this one estate are all the same. They're all loaded with tools, and they're all loaded with reading glasses and different types of razor blades and knives and Q-tips, and this will go right into inventory. Little tape measure. Yeah, this thing has retired guy written all over it. Okay, the glove box. We got our owner's manual. Oh, this is a compass. This guy bought every gadget off of the CVS. CVS is a drugstore. QVC. Pocket screwdriver. That might get used in about 10 minutes. Remote control for the radio. I don't know what those are. I guess those are more flashlights. No, those are baby binoculars. Monocular would be one, Jason, you idiot. Binoculars. This will go into inventory too. Got a plug-in socket here with a couple of test leads. And I can feel some kind of an ant gnawing on my knee. These door panels are full of things too. Bolts. These are actually labeled. Brake drum prism. 93 prism. I hope the brakes work on this car because almost every one of these cars, the brakes were torn apart and they all had a bunch of test leads in them. The guy was a amateur electrical engineer, I guess. Okay, we got another. This thing says caution all over it, so that's good. This looks like a really super cheap power inverter. Now, a couple of gadgets I found in this guy's cars I've plugged in and had smoke and fire and pop fuses, so I'm not even gonna bother with that. Let's see what's under the mat here. This mat's in good shape, actually. That's a good sign too. Roll of paper towels. Got a, oh, this will go right into my inventory also. That's brand new. And here we go. This is what I was afraid of. This is a fuse cover. So I'm telling you, this guy, he was trying to put amps in and power inverters. All these cars have fuse covers without, just laying around or whatever. That's what he was doing. All those Honda Wago vans I got, there's other cars that haven't been on the channel yet, all have this stuff hanging out everywhere. He was an audiophile. I guess back when this car was around, he would have been trying to listen to gin and juice. I guess it's safe to assume, though, the air conditioning probably doesn't work because of that. Got that sweet purple window tint going, too. All peeling. Uh-oh. No door handle. No door handle there either. I just reached around and destroyed the interior door handle too. All right, Jason, take it easy. Oh, there's a remnant of a door handle here. That's what it is. Oh, wow. Okay, perseverance pays off. I was able to get my sausage finger under this nub here and pull it out and basically pry this door open. Busted handle. I also busted the bezel. I also angered some wasps down into the hinge area there, and they are not happy with me right now. But you guys that always run from wasps, if you stand perfectly still, they'll ignore you, and that works. Trust me. So I'm just going to stand here for an hour holding this CD. Okay, this looks like a speaker jammed in behind the seat, which explains why when I tried to sit in the front, I couldn't get the seat all the way back. I'm going to abort this mission for the moment because of the wasp, but got lots of those old fluorescent light bulbs in there, but everything else back here looks pretty tight, pretty sound. Pull this towel back too. I see. Oh, I don't know why there's a bunch of paper or something down in this area. Investigate that. It's not cracked. The towel's pretty faded. That gives you an idea how long it's been there. Started out as a taupe color. Now it's orange. Let's see what the trunk's got in store for us. Probably a wasp nest. Every single one of these cars has been loaded with tools. Everybody could use a big breaker bar. Whenever they just say chrome vanadium, that's the stamp of quality. It's like a socket set. Look there. This is going to be a self-starting car. Got all the tools right here. Durabuilt. I don't even know where Durabuilt was sold. Here's a couple of quarts of oil, looks like. Here's a whole set of wobble extensions. More test leads, more parts of some. Oh, there's door handles. Wow, this guy was ahead of the game here. I think they're, well, what's this? Another door handle. This guy was onto something here. He knew what he had. A couple of Fram oil filters. These novelty wrenches that don't really do anything, but it is from Harbor Freight, Pittsburgh. Oh, a whole box full of oil filters. Those are probably going to go in the trash. Battery hold down, jack, air pump, tool bag for the jack tools. Yeah, this was a score here. I'm just going to leave this open to air out, and maybe I'll get it running and use this as a new revival car. Now, I'm no Toyota expert, but I think this was the better of the two engines. I think there was a 1.6 and a 1.8. He was definitely chasing an air conditioning issue here. I'm not sure he was on the right track with this, although this looks exactly like something I would do. I would guess this Freon can is probably 10 years old too. Quite the homemade gauge setup. He's even got a twist tie holding this together. That's exactly, we were probably related. It's got a like number 2 wire bolted to the top of the engine. Well, you know, this guy was probably doing this ground for his stereo system. Why is this open already? Well, at least there's an air filter in there. My rescue batteries are dual terminal. They've got both side and top. As I got a side terminal bolt with a spacer that takes up the space in the bolt. This will screw into the battery like that. And this flat on this cable, if you can find it, it's already bent sideways anyway. Now if the battery's orientated the right way, I was kind of hoping this would fit. By the way, if you can ever find these ratcheting 6-in-1 screwdrivers, they are the shizzle. When you break down on the side of the road a lot, you end up with a lot of $10 and $20 socket sets, it seems. Hopefully the socket works. Now these socket sets either usually break, or you end up setting them in an irresponsible place, like on top of the engine, and it dumps over and you never see half of them again. You don't deal with it, and it's just a repetitive process. I've wrecked the threads on my side post battery bolt. After a short derail, I managed to find some green style battery terminals to jam on here, and I gotta try to do this tonight because I'm committed to the cause. So I've got my RAM pulled up here for lighting purposes. And I think what I'm going to do is use my brain for once and leave these terminals on this battery all the time. So I don't have to go diving through boxes of junk to find this kind of stuff. Alright, let's see if this battery will fit down in here. Oh, got lights. Maybe there was a reason that other ground cable was hooked up. Alright, it's a whole new day. Good morning. Where we left off last night, I got my battery terminal halfway on there. I'm going to redo this, I believe. One of the problems is the only thing that worked was the headlights. The clutch pedal, all the way to the floor, stuck. So hopefully I can just get this thing to fire and we'll go from there. Okie doke. About an hour later here, what I ended up doing, the only thing that worked in this car was the headlights, and I checked all my power at the battery and the cables, and both ground cables are good. What ended up happening after looking under the dash and verifying the bird's nest in there is okay, a couple amp wires were run. I started thinking, I don't have any power going. I've got power to this fuse block under the hood, but I got no power to the fuse block under the dash. So I started trying to pry out these, I think they're called J-case fuses, jackass fuses, something like that. Now, I don't know exactly how these were made. Some of them have little tabs sticking out of either side that hold them in. I don't think this does because there's not enough room for it in there. But I started pulling this fuse block apart. There was a bunch of dirt dauber nests and things back there, but all the wiring looks good. A couple of continuity tests of the battery cables verified that. So we've got good juice here. I don't know which one of these goes out to the fuse block in the interior. I think it's the alternator and the AMI. May both have a part in that. But that fuse for the alternator is blown, the 100 amp. The clutch situation, as far as the pedal being on the floor, everything is there. I'm not gonna mess with that until I get this thing running. Okay, back from the store, I was able to locate these two fuses, whatever they are. I did not get the one for the ABS because they didn't have one, and well, we don't need ABS until we have GOES. So I'm gonna skip that for now, but I am gonna apply some common sense here and check around inside the car and look for an amp or another power inverter or some kind of gadget that could pop that 100 amp fuse. I think I'm gonna start by not getting stung, probably. Then I'm gonna rip this big speaker out of here. Make sure there's no amp. See all those wires down below there? That might have something to do with this whole miserable process. Okay, the big speaker's out. Whenever you have a blown fuse, here's one of the first places to start looking. I mean, I even see fuses hanging out of that thing. So we're gonna disconnect all that. And you can see the problem there. We've got duct tape connections. I'm gonna try to find where those are and just delete them. This fuse, the 100 amp, went into this slot right here. And there's two screws. There's a screw on each side of this one to get these apart. And now the new fuse has some reliefs in it where you can just slide it in and out. The original fuse was hard bolted in there with a loop. You could not pull it out. And I ended up breaking this thing trying to do that because I assumed it would slide out. You've got to take this power distribution section out of this underhood fuse block. And I have never seen any plastic clips fight me the way that these did. I ended up having to just put screwdrivers and jam them in everywhere until the thing started to wiggle loose, and it finally kind of barely slid out. I also dropped half my tools and stuff down around everywhere. There's a pair of needle nose stuck down. There's my finger. A pair of needle nose pliers are stuck down behind this air intake. I've got to go get those. I had to bust out my H-back umbrella. I like to limit my, vitamin D uptake. I'm hoping that when I get this fuse in and get these screws tightened down and get this back together, that this thing will show some signs of life. Okay, we had to improvise a little bit. I could not get another 40 amp with the two extended blades on it, so I just wired it into the sides. Probably didn't really use the correct wire size for that, but for testing purposes, this will work fine. This is called an AM1 fuse, and I think it energizes a starter relay. And I'm not necessarily sure that that one I took out was bad. It was kind of indeterminate. I got a good one here, and you can't see the green one, but it's good now. The 40 amp, 100 amp, 40 amp. 100 amp was definitely bad. 40 amp was bad. The ABS, we don't really care about that. I'm still not sure that this car is going to run anyway, so I'm not going to go too crazy. I'm going to delete the big fat battery cable there. I'm going to get my magnetic tool and fish out all the sockets that I dropped. And that's actually not a bad little socket set for, I don't know, 20 bucks or whatever I paid for it on the side of the road one day. And I'm going to try to keep that one together because it's a really good size to, fit in the glove box or whatever and work with. So I'm going to work on all that, throw my battery back in and see if this car has any signs of life at all. Then I'll go back and clean off all this blood. Okay, got our, this umbrella is clocked me in the head like every time I walk under it. Stupid. I'm stupid. I had to give up on the new battery terminals for the moment. I thought, well, I'm wasting my time to do all that work and then have this thing not do what I expected it to do. So got everything back together good enough. I'm gonna see if all the accessories work and then see if it'll turn over. Okay, progress. Go ahead and put some ethanol-free gas in here in case the fuel pump works. Oh, that's pure water. Not for long. I like to waste all this brand new gas in old gas tanks, especially on EFI cars, so I can turn around and drain it, change the fuel pump. Try to give it a little shake too. Where's my starting fluid? Maybe I'll take this doober off, squirt it right in there. That'll be enough to catch the backyard on fire. Seems like we don't have any spark. So I think we've got good progress for today. And I'll come out here, check the spark, fix that. Who knows? Maybe all this stuff is no good here. But I think what I'll do is kind of call today a victory for getting it to turn over. Since I know that the engine turns over now, I'm also okay fixing the clutch problem. I think this car might have potential, really. There actually might be another bad relay in here for the EFI. Here's a little bit of the mess I gotta pick up now. Here's that subwoofer. I think the problem with that fuse blowing was this thing here. Those two wires there went directly to a power source somewhere. And this thing is probably shorted out from water or poor installation or whatever. This thing looks brand new. I don't know if it might be an Amazon brand for all I know, but maybe I'll play around with that a little bit. This is a classic HVAC electrician bandaging setup here. My wife's a nurse. I'll get some proper medical care when I go in the house later. There's going to be another video coming on this car. I'm going to try to get it running. The good news is the rats haven't chewed up the wiring, so there's hope. I know it's not the most exciting car in the world, but I worked at a Toyota dealership in 1993, so this car brings back fond memories of 93 Corollas and Camrys back when I worked there. They were really good cars, and this is a pretty cool one because it's kind of a loaded manual with the bigger engine. So there's some desirability for it, I'm sure. And by the way, it just occurred to me working on this car, this thing is 30 years old, and I was like 20 when I worked at the Toyota dealer. That's it for this video. I appreciate you guys watching. If you can, give me a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
All right.
Tune in again.
Thanks for watching.
Yep.